In today's video, we're going to be playing an old audio recording of George Washington Snow. He was part of the Lyars Club of Provincetown, Massachusetts. Stick around. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button down below and hit the thumbs up like button if you end up liking this video, and leave a comment. Today I'll be playing you an old audio recording that my dad, John Arsmall, recorded back in 1949. He had a radio station here on Cape Cod. It was located in West Yarmouth. It was WOCB radio. And he had a lot of local talent, and he had his good friend George Washington Snow. Now, my dad published this book called the Cape Cod Lyars Handbook. This is a collection of stories that George Washington Snow had written. The Lyars Club was located in Provincetown. It was basically a collection of the old-time storytellers, and they would tell tales, they would spin stories. It was really an art and a craft. It was part of their entertainment. It was part of their expression of writing and storytelling. There was a whole art, a style, a craft to what they did. They were pretty magnificent. This is the second recording that I'm going to be having of George Washington Snow. I only have 2 recordings of George. My dad had him on the radio show many times, but the only ones they recorded apparently are these couple of stories. Stick around, I think you'll like this. My dad will do a little introduction, and then you'll hear George tell the story.
George Washington Snow. George, just tell me one thing. About how many stories do you think that you've written?
I've written altogether approximately 350 stories.
And I suppose they're all about the different pets that you've owned and different times and the things that they've done, animal stories of all kinds.
Yes, I have written all about animals, about people, and about the world at large. I have written many a story about different sea voyages that I took, different explorations that I ventured. I have written a whole lot that's going to be interesting not only to the father and mother, but to the child.
Well, that's fine, George. And it's all going to be in your big book that's coming out shortly and which is offered for sale to the general public and everywhere where books are going to be sold for that low price of $1.69.
How do you do? This is your old friend, George Washington Snow. I'm going to tell you all about my pet goat. Of all the pets I ever owned, I guess the one I cared the least about was Jocko, my goat. Back in 1903, when I purchased him from the farm in Georgia, it seemed like a good idea. I had visions of making all sorts of money goat racing, and thought perhaps it might even be possible to start a new national sport. From the very first, however, Jocko proved to be an expense. He was always going AWOL, and every time he did, he got into mischief. Once he went into a grocery store and ate a whole bushel of apples. Another time he jumped into a grain dealer's wagon and ate a bag of oats. And still another time he went into a neighbor's yard and ate a calico dress which was hanging on the line. If anyone thinks it isn't an expense to keep a mischievous goat around the place, let him get one and find out for himself. Jocko's various adventures in eating things that didn't belong to me cost me over $100. To pay for this, I had to run errands, milk cows, saw wood, lay bricks, and sell half my pet pigeons. I knew a man who helped me design a special harness and buggy for Jocko. After 21 weeks of training, I finally hitched him up one day and put out a big sign which read, "Goat ride, 2 cents." Well, sir, the first afternoon I made just 22 cents. All the rest of that week we took in only 18 cents. And it wasn't because people didn't want to go goat riding. It was because Jocko was so mean and disagreeable. He would go trotting along the road and then suddenly veer off into a briar patch or into a sand hill, almost anywhere except where he was supposed to go. He would stop and eat a few old tin cans. I really wept. It was so discouraging. But I didn't give up hope, at least not right away. On December the 15th, 1904, I had Jocko hitched to a nice red wagon and had a young lady as our passenger. We were going along fine when all of a sudden Jocko took off and dove into Champagne Pond, pulling wagon and all right in after him. The young lady got wet, I got wet, and Jocko got wet. It was the last straw. I pulled the wagon out of the pond myself, and while the young lady was on the verge of hysterics, pulled it to a home several blocks away. I was so mad with Jocko, I didn't care where he was and didn't bother to look for him. As I hauled the wagon along, the people laughed and cheered. I got madder and madder. All along the road, people just hee-hawed and held onto their sides laughing. It wasn't until I got to my own yard that I found out why. Then I happened to look back. There was Jocko sitting in the driver's seat, chewing my hat. You can bet your bottom dollar that I shipped Jocko back to Georgia. And for years, when anybody asked me if someone had gotten my goat, I was very touchy about it. It has always, even since then, been as plain to me as the nose on my face that goats are the worst possible barnyard pets, the most mischievous, the most ungrateful, and certainly the most expensive. And that, folks, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as I, George Washington Snow, am accustomed to telling it.
Well, thank you very much, George. That's a very, very interesting story. Don't you like that, folks? The truth as I am accustomed to telling it. Boy, there's a lot of longitude and some latitude there, all right.
The truth as I am accustomed to telling it. That was one of George Washington Snow's signature lines that he would end a lot of his stories with. And yeah, I think a lot of people got a kick out of him and his personality. Yeah, George and his wife were a wonderful couple, and my mom and dad enjoyed spending time with them. If you've enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll know when our next video will be released. And please tell us down below in the comments section if you like this video, if you would like to hear more old stories of Cape Cod. We'd like to have your comments. Just put yes, show more stories, and we would really appreciate that.
Now, if you folks happen to live somewhere where there isn't a bookstore right handy, if you want a copy of George's book with the story of George Washington Snow and the Wonderful Seagull, or maybe George Snow and the Tame Whales, or George Snow, Scientist, Explorer, and Inventor, or George Snow and the Mystery of the Flying Saucers, why, you be sure to get that big new book that's coming out called The Snow Job. And if you can't get it from your bookstore, order it direct from this radio station, and it'll be mailed to you. All you have to do is to pay the postman when he gets there $1.69 plus a few cents postage. And if you don't like the book after you've read it, you keep it and read it for a few days, 10 days. If you don't like it, you mail it back and we'll refund your money. But I think that you're going to like that book, The Snow Job. It's one of the best of its kind that's ever been written. Now, the Cape Cod crew here is going to go along with another little number. A very lovely little young lady from Dennis. She's going to step up here to the microphone, and she's going to sing a little song for you, which we all enjoy hearing very much. And this song is called Kentucky is Only a Dream, and the little lady who's going to sing it is none other than Cape Cod sweetheart, little Joyce Ellen.